and welcome to Baby Stories. I'd like today to tell you these little stories about our Dalit. Okay, so the Dalit, as you can see, stands for the number 4. The gematria of a Dalit is number 4. Also, I'd like to show you that the Dalit and Dalit are very similar, except for the nikudas. Also, I'll explain later that Dal, it means like a pauper, a poor man. Also, we're going to talk about the Dalit, which I said represents 4. It has to do with the line going this way, which is north, south, and west, and the line going this way, which is north and south. So we'll be talking about the Dalit. So the Dalit also is between the Gimel and the Hay. It has a little yod up here to be batal and to be humble. And the Dalit has like a little protruding edge here. Kind of looks over his shoulder, looking at the Gimel. For Gimel stands for Gimelot Chasadim, to see if the Gimel would help him out and give him tzedaka or show chesed towards him. Also, the Dalit faces the Hay. The Dalit faces the Hay because all the sustenance for a human being comes from Hashem. Also, it says in the wisdom of the Aleph base, it says that if a person is poor in this world, in the next world, Hashem is for sure going to make he will be rich. And I think there was a story about, but I don't know where I got the story from. And it's a story about Queen Ester, where she passed away. She went to the Olam Haba, and she was walking around, and she saw this gorgeous palace with it was just so magnificent, this huge castle, and she wanted to go in it, and they said, "No, you cannot enter that castle because you already lived in a palace. You already lived in a beautiful mansion. You cannot go in there." So he says, "Well, how can I get in there?" He says, "Only if you go back down and you're not rich anymore and you're very poor, then in Olam Haba, you'll be able to come to this palace." And from what I heard is that she accepted, just in order to be living in that beautiful palace, she accepted to come back down and live as a poor person. But I can't remember where I got that story from. But anyway, so I will explain to you the difference between Tzedaka and Chesed. And Tzedaka usually is just, first of all, every mitzvah is called Tzedaka. Every mitzvah is Tzedaka. But Tzedaka, when you give money to a person, and then there's Chesed, where you do a kindness to a person, like you give them warm food, or you give them clothing, or you give them shelter. That's Chesed. That's Gemot Chasadim. And Tzedaka is money. Now, there is a story in the Talmud about Markova. Markova had a neighbor who was very, very poor. And every day he would walk and give 4 coins to that neighbor, but he would not let the neighbor know. He would put the coins on the steps of the house. And he would do that every day, just 4 coins. And what had happened is that the neighbor got suspicious. He says, "Who's doing this? Who's doing this? to me, who's giving me these coins? I'm going to hide and I'm going to find out who's doing this. So the neighbor hid behind the bush. And then one day, Markova walked with his wife that day to go put the coins down by the steps of his neighbor. But he noticed that the neighbor was hiding behind the bushes. So he quickly, and his wife quickly, ran into an oven. Back there used to be big ovens, but the oven was not cooled off yet. And they ran in and they hid in the oven so the neighbor should not see them. While in the oven, Markova's feet were burning. And the wife noticed, and she says, put your feet on top of my feet. My feet are not burning. And after the neighbor had gone away, they came out, and Markova says to his wife, how come my feet were burning, but yours were not burning? How is that possible? She says, because when you give tzedakah, you give money. Maybe it'll grow, maybe it won't grow. Maybe he'll use it in the proper way. He still has to go buy the food. He still has to cook it. When I do chesed, I bring the prepared food. I bring them clothes. It's already ready. It's already ready to use. So that's why my feet did not burn. And that was the whole idea of between tzedakah and chesed. Then I have another story. Then I have another story. I actually have two stories. But also Shlomo HaMelech said that when you give a poor person money, dal, a poor person money, you're taking a loan from Hashem, and Hashem will pay it back to you with healthy children, with a long life, with all that you need. Also, we said that the dalet is like a door. It's like a delet. When somebody comes knocking on the door, you open it to a poor person, to a dal, to a poor person, and you give that person money or food or whatever you need to. So now I have a story about what happened during the Gulf War. And this story was told by a Rabbi Finkelman in New York. And this story is found in Ani Hashem, the book Ani Hashem. So, and it's a story about chesed. So there was, during the Scud missiles, during the Gulf War, 39 Scud missiles fell into Eretz Israel, and most of them landed in Tel Aviv. Now, because of the Scud missiles that kept coming down on Tel Aviv, most of Tel Aviv moved to Yerushalayim, but some people still stayed. Now, in Tel Aviv, I don't know if you've been there, but it's very beautiful. There's a lot of apartments, huge apartments. So there was these two brothers that were living. Their name was Avi and Tzvi. And Avi and Tzvi was living in a huge apartment, and they befriended a lady by Mrs. Yona, and she lived in the apartment next to them. And they were friends, and they knew that Mrs. Yona had a hearing problem, so they helped her out, and they bought for her, and they gave her. And then, sure enough, when the Scud missile started, this was in 1991, around February, and Dafka, the Scud missiles would come at nighttime because the evil perpetrator wanted to cause a lot of damage, because most of the time everybody will be home at night, and 2:00 in the morning, where's everybody going except trying to sleep? So this person tried to cause the most damage. So unfortunately, he did cause a lot of damage, but thank God nobody died. But anyway, at 2:00 in the morning, there was a big siren, and Zev and Tzvi were going to, Meir and Zev woke up from it, and Zevi tells Meir, come on, let's go to Mrs. Yona. Let's go to Yona. Mrs. Yona, she's probably sleeping. She's not going to get up, and she has a hearing problem. Please, let's go help her, and let's go bring her to us. Why should she be alone? It's 2:00 in the morning. Who knows how many times the siren is going to come? Let's go. And sure enough, Zevi and Meir got out of their beds in the middle of the night, walked down the stairs, walked up the stairs to the other building, and started knocking at Mrs. Yona's house, because she might have taken her hearing aids off and she would not hear them very well. So they knocked very, very hard. Finally, she opened the door and she was surprised. What are you doing here? She explained, listen, the sirens are going off and we don't want you to be alone. So please come with us. And she said, no, don't bother me. I'm fine. She said, no, we're not leaving unless you get dressed and come down with us. So she just took her robe and she followed them down the stairs. Now, here is an apartment, which is theirs, and this is her apartment, which she just left. And they're walking, and they're right in the middle between two apartments. The Scud missile came and hit right in the middle of the street, causing the two apartments to come crashing down. They were in the middle towards the side between the two buildings, but they were never hurt. Not a scratch, nothing happened to them. But do you see the chesed that Zevi and Meir went to do? They went to save Mrs. Yona's house, and meantime, they also saved their house. That's chesed. That's amazing kindness. And I'll tell you later that kindness is higher than giving money. Now there's another story that I'd like to tell you, and this story is about a grandmother's grave, also found in the same book. So it's about grandmother's grave. So it goes like this. The man had a conference in Eretz Yisrael for 1 full week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he would be in a conference. He'll have the whole day off on Friday, and then Sunday he'll be going back. After Shabbos, he'll going back to America. So as you know, everybody that goes to Eretz Yisrael, you get a million phone calls. Can you just take a little thing to Eretz Yisrael? Can you just take, it's no bigger than a shoebox. It's no bigger than a bread box. Whatever, right? But everybody calls you just the last minute before you go to Eretz Yisrael. So, sure enough, Mrs. Stern calls Yechiel and says to Yechiel, please, Yechiel, my son Yehuda lives in Yerushalayim, and he'll come to you and pick this up. But take this empty suitcase to Yehuda for me. And Yechiel said, sure, I'll do it. And he took the suitcase and he was ready to go. Obviously, last minute, running to the airport. He got there. He did everything. It's beautiful. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, everything was fine. Now it's Thursday, and now it's Friday. And he wanted to quickly run to Tel Aviv, go to visit his grandmother's grave, which he has not done in so many years. And he would like to do that mitzvah of going to visit his grandmother's grave. And he was almost getting ready when all of a sudden he hears the doorbell ring. Sure enough, it's Yehuda. And Yehuda asks for his suitcase, and nicely he gives him the suitcase. And then Yehuda just happens to say, by the way, what are your plans for today? So Yechiel said, I'm going to go visit my grandmother's grave, and it's in around Tel Aviv somewhere. So he said, why not? I'm from there. I'm going there right now. I'm going to be there for Shabbos. Why don't we share a taxi, a sharut? Let's share a taxi. Why should we each go on a separate taxi? We'll share a taxi, and then I'll continue, and you'll continue to your grandmother. You'll continue to Tel Aviv, to over there. And they're on the way, and they got into the taxi and they went. And like halfway to Tel Aviv, they stopped at a Makolet to get something to drink. And Yehuda says to Yechiel, I'm going to go get some Coke or something to drink. Would you like some? And Yechiel said, no, I'm fine. So Yehuda goes and gets something to drink, and he's there. Meantime, Yechiel feels his pocket. He says, you know what? I am kind of thirsty. Maybe I should get some water or something to drink. So he looks for his pocket, and oh my goodness, he has no money. He left his wallet on the table in Yerushalayim. What is he going to do now? He went into the Makolet just to walk, and didn't say anything. And Yehuda again asked him, do you want something to drink? And he says, no, I'm fine. They go back into the car and they continue their trip to Tel Aviv. Now, while they're talking, they're saying, what are you doing? What am I doing? But meantime, Yechiel, inside of him, he has no idea. How is he going to pay to get back to Yerushalayim? How is he going to visit his grandmother's grave? Because this is a mitzvah that he really wanted to do. And he hasn't been to Eretz Yisrael for so long. And now that he's come, he really wants to do this mitzvah. And now he's not going to be able to do this mitzvah. How does this going to work? What's going to happen? And he was worried about it, but he said nothing. And as they're talking, again, Yehuda asks him, so where are you going to go in Tel Aviv? He says, I'm going to go to my grandmother's grave. I'm going to visit my grandmother's grave. She's buried just a few miles away from such a place. So all of a sudden there was quiet in the car. Nobody spoke a word. Yehuda turned around and looked out this window. Yechiel turned around and looked out this window. No one said nothing for a few minutes. Then Yehuda turns around, almost with tears in his eyes, and he says, Yechiel, I don't have a grandmother. Everybody perished in the Holocaust. I don't have the mitzvah of going to a grandmother's grave. I don't have brachas to get from a Zaidi or Babi or any. I have nobody. Everybody is gone. I don't have aunts, uncles, nothing. Everybody perished in the Holocaust. I only have my parents. Here, he took out $300 and gave it to Yechiel. And he said, Yechiel, when you go to your grandmother's grave, please do me a favor. I want it to be my mitzvah. I want it to be my mitzvah because I don't have a grandmother. But you going to your grandmother and using this money to go to the grave and to come back, it'll be like I shared in the mitzvah. Please take it. Yehuda Yechiel could not believe what was happening. And he thanked Yechiel very much. And when the taxi stopped and Yehuda continued and Yechiel took the taxi to the grave of his grandmother, He couldn't believe the Hashgacha Pratis, how Hashem saw his predicament inside, how he so much wanted to do this mitzvah and forgot his wallet. And look, this man, who's never met before, he just saw him for the first time today, offered, he just couldn't believe it. So this is tzedakah, when you're actually giving the money. So these are the two stories that I want to share with you. I hope you enjoyed. And share the stories with other people, and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching.